Hey, what's up, nerds? We got some big news for you with the Wrath of the Everchosen book. Nurgle is getting some sweet new allegiance abilities. So, we are going to take a look at those today and see what this does for us overall. So, just looking at the current state of where Nurgle is to kind of put this in perspective on what our baseline is and how this might help us. Uh, this is our oldest second edition book in Age of Sigmar right now. So, a lot of the cool toys that have come in later books, we don't really have in Nurgle. Currently, we've got meta representation of 2.96%, according to the stats from the Honest Wargamer. Our match win rate is 43.6%. That puts us at the low end of the middle. 19th out of 31 factions, so that's the 39th percentile. So our expected performance at a GT, a 5-round tournament, would be 2 wins and 3 losses. Not the best, but we do have some promise here. Having new allegiance abilities is definitely a welcome addition, a needed addition to the Nurgle book. So, without further ado, let's take a look at what we got. First sub-faction that we have is the Munificent Wanderers. I'm sure I can say that word 3 times fast. Alright. Our allegiance ability are for our demon units. When there is an enemy unit within 3 inches of our demon units, they worsen their Ren characteristic by 1. So it's going to make our demon units more durable. You're eliminating some of your opponent's rend. Now, our demons all are already pretty durable, so this is going to increase the durability of your demons even further. That block of 30 Plague Bearers, now with their 5-up save and their 5-up Disgusting Resilience, now not going to be affected by rend, and they're also -1 to be hit in melee. So they're going to be sticking around quite a while. Our command ability, our demon units that are wholly within 12 inches of a demon hero do D3 mortal wounds, kicking back at enemy units that end charges within 3 inches of them. So this is, once again, making your anvil units a little bit more prickly, as that's what your demons tend to be. And our command trait, enemy units suffer 1 mortal wound for each hit of 6 against our demons wholly within 12 inches of the general. And then our artifact, one of your melee weapons is +1 to hit versus heroes. That's kind of like the low light of this particular one. So what overall this does is really it punishes your opponent for attacking your demons. And in a lot of lists, you're going to be using a block of demons, specifically Plague Bearers. They're going to be like a big anvil unit. They're going to be getting in the way. They're going to be holding objectives. So this is going to be adding to your defense. And, with the kickback of the mortal wounds, that really is going to make them a little bit more, I guess, pseudo-offensively powerful as well, because your Plague Bearers really don't hit very hard. So this is giving them a little bit more of a punch back. Up next is the Droning Guard. So we have the same allegiance ability as the Munificent Wanderers. Worsening the enemy Ren characteristic by 1 within 3 inches of your demons. Your command ability, this is going to add 1 to the Disgusting Resilience roll of Plague Drones. So they go from a 5-up damage prevention save on their Disgusting Resilience to a 4-up, which is very powerful. It makes those guys even more sticky. They're going to stick around in combat, and they're also pretty decent on offense, or they can be with the right combinations of things. So They're going to stick around longer. They're going to be a very strong anvil unit, as well as having the potential to be very strong on offense. Your command trait, once again, affects plague drones, and they get to make a 4-inch move before the start of the battle. So they get to move up 4 inches. And your artifact, artifact bearer is -1 to be hit in melee. So you're getting a more defensive hero out of that artifact. This one I definitely like. One of the lists that was popular for a while was running a unit of 6 plague drones and rushing them across the board at your opponent. This is going to make those plague drones more durable, and it's going to make them more reliable to get across the board. So I definitely like that. That might bring that list back. So we'll see what that does. This is definitely an interesting one. Up next is the Blessed Sons. When one of your friendly Rotbringer models is slain, you roll a d6. On a 2-up, it deals 1 mortal wound to the attacking unit. Our command trait, once per turn, you can use at the double for free. That's really powerful, especially in Nurgle, because the Feculent Gnarlmaw lets you run in charge. So getting at the double for free is really, really powerful in Nurgle. I tend to use at the double a lot, so this really opens up some possibilities. This is going to, in many cases, add, 3 or 4 extra command points in effect to your game. At least the way I play Nurgle. I don't know what that would be for anybody else, but I use at the double all the time, so this is going to be a big boon to a lot of my list building. Our command ability, this is an interesting one. So you pick one of your Rotbringer units. If it deals damage to a unit greater than that unit's bravery, it does an additional 3 mortal wounds. So this is interesting against maybe like hordes in particular. You're going to take out 3 more clan rats or 3 more, I don't know, pick something. Your Blight Kings tend to do a lot of damage, and so getting over their bravery characteristic is not always that hard. And note that it's bravery characteristic, so it's not going to be impacted by the horde bonus that you get for having, for the extra 1 bravery for every 10 models. That only affects the battle shock phase. So this is potentially pretty interesting. And our artifact, you get to reroll saves for the bearer. So that is really strong. That is a very strong artifact. We have a lot of very durable heroes in Nurgle already, and this is going to make somebody really, really difficult to kill. And finally, our last one is the Drowned Men. Our Allegiance ability is the same as our Blessed Sons, so we're kicking back a mortal wound on a 2+ every time one of our models dies. Our command trait lets us reroll charges for Puscoil Blight Lords while they're wholly within 12 inches of the hero that activates the command ability. Or I'm sorry, the hero that is your general, that has the command trait, rather. So that's just sort of available to you all the time. And our command ability, you pick one of your Puscoil Blight Lord units, and their blighted weapons, when they do hits of 6, add rend -1 to the hit. Now, the blighted weapons are the attack that, when you have a hit of 6, it does d6 hits. I don't believe the way that this is worded that you're going to add rend to all of those additional hits. I believe this is only going to give rend to one of those hits. We're going to need an FAQ on this. The intent may be to have all of those D6 have rend 1, which would really change the game for Puscoils. That would make them really, really powerful if they could just add rend 1 to their blighted weapon attacks. It might actually make Puscoil Blight Lords a little bit more playable. And then our artifact, we have just adding 1 to the wounds characteristic of the bearer. That is one of the least interesting things that you can do, but hey, it is a little bit annoying to me that we have this artifact that's basically like a tax on this allegiance that is not that exciting to begin with. I would have really liked to see a more powerful artifact in this one. So, some list building ideas. Munificent Wanderers, I think that would pair really well with the Taliban of Nurgle. That is your battalion that is basically just telling you to run a whole lot of demons. So all of your demons are kicking back mortal wounds, so it makes them a little bit more offensively powerful when otherwise that list is really lacking offense. Other than running some plague drones, you're really struggling to do a lot of damage to your opponent there. Your real thing that you're working with is trying to be very durable and just outlast your opponent. The Droning Guard, as I said before, I think that could revive the Drone Strike list. That is, the Alpha Strike list with 6 plague drones that run across the table on turn 1 and, Alpha Strike your opponent. The drones become more powerful on defense. They become a little bit more powerful on offense. They're more reliable to get across the table. So the Droning Guard is definitely an interesting one. The problem with this is that it's giving most of your bonuses to what is probably just going to be one unit in your list. With a unit of drones at 200 points, it's kind of hard to get a lot of drones into your list. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it is not easy. Could you run, minimum battle line and a whole bunch of drones? Sure. But I think that would be a list I think that would struggle. This is, it's an interesting idea, but I think mainly this is going to go toward making a drone strike list with that just like one big Death Star drone unit being more viable. So our Blessed Sons, this is really just good for your standard Blight King heavy lists. This is sort of like your auto pick if you're running, a Blight Cyst list. Just kind of adds some new abilities to them. The artifact is good. All of the abilities are good. It just, it improves all what is already probably the best build out of Nurgle, and is going to give you some new interesting options there. Drowned Men, obviously that's for a Puscoil heavy list. I'm like Droning Guard, I think it's hard to fit a lot of Puscoils in your list. Running Affliction Cyst is certainly a thing that you could think about, but I'm not sure that's necessarily going to be like the thing that's worth it. And in terms of investment in dollars, Puscoils are kind of expensive to, run an all Puscoil list. You're going to be very low model count, so you're going to have trouble holding objectives. They can be really fast when combined with the Lord of Afflictions. The Affliction Cyst does let them deep strike. It's interesting. I don't know how much, we're really looking at them being that much more powerful. So, and the fact that, getting the rend on your blighted weapon attacks is a command ability, not a command trait or just a general ability, I think really is a detriment. And if you're going with a Puscoil heavy list, the ability to kick back a mortal wound when a model dies, your very low model count, you're going to get very few mortal wounds out of that. So I'm not sure where you really go with that. Not my favorite one. So overall, I think Droning Guard and Blessed Sons are really the big ones that we're looking at that are going to be seeing play. I think Blessed Sons is going to be, probably like 90% of the lists that we're going to be seeing out there. Just because we're already seeing very heavy on Blight King heavy lists. Munificent Wanderers might be a thing as well for Thricefold Befoulment lists. Although, I don't know. It's certainly possible for Thricefold Befoulment, and that's a fairly popular list as well. Otherwise, outside of the Thricefold Befoulment, running a demon heavy list tends to not be that great. It is noteworthy that Puscoils are also demons, and there's a few other heroes that are Rotbringers as well as demons. So there's some potential there for getting a little bit more bang for your buck, but I think Munificent Wanderers is not going to be seen that much. The Droning Guard, as I said, it's going to bring back the Drone Strike list, I think. It's certainly possible. Blessed Sons, I think we're going to see all over the place just because, a Blight Cyst list just wants that. It's the one you use for Blight Cyst. And then the Drowning Men, I think if Puscoils go down in points, I think it's a game changer for Nurgle. The Puscoils, I think, are really good. They're just way too expensive right now. They went down in the last GHB. They need to go down more. You need to go lower, guys. Like, if they're like 160 points for 2, then we're talking about something interesting. Then it might actually be worth it. I think 180 is still too high. They're good, but they're not that outstanding. And if they're concerned about balance with the ability with Lord of Afflictions, just boost up the points on Lord of Afflictions a little bit. So overall, I think this does improve Nurgle as a faction in general. Still definitely not a tier 1 army. Where at like 43% win rate right now. Might this push it up to like a 50% win rate? Maybe. Might this attract more players back to Nurgle that had put this army on the shelf? Certainly possible. And by having, some better players pull it off the shelf, will your win rate go up? That's certainly possible as well. I think a lot of players put Nurgle on the shelf, particularly like competitive players. The people playing Nurgle right now seem like people that just really love Nurgle, and they're not necessarily top tier players. I know I'm certainly one of those guys that I just play Nurgle because I love it, and it fits my play style. It's fun. They're fun stuff to paint. So it definitely just sort of fits along with me. But in here, these sub-factions, there's no Petrifex Elite, there's no Hagnar. There's nothing like that. There's nothing overpowered in any of this. There are a bunch of things that give you nice little buffs that give you a boost to an army that's been languishing. So I think it's a welcome addition. I think it's going to boost things up a little bit, but it's not going to take this army from being, tier 2 at best to S tier. Like, no. This is not going to start making Nurgle win GTs. This is going to take you from, a 3-2 to a 2 wins, 3 losses to 3 wins, 2 losses. Maybe occasionally push more people to a 4-1. Not going to continue to see a lot of 5-0s out of Nurgle. Just not going to happen right now, I don't think. There's a lot of hope for a new book coming. I don't know that there's actually rumor of one in the works, but we do always have the new GHB coming out every June or July, and some points adjustments to Nurgle could definitely improve the faction. So I think some points reductions in combination with these new allegiance abilities could give us a decent boost. So just sort of a sample list here real quick for Droning Guard. This is using the Taliban of Nurgle to get our drops down. 3 units of Plague Bearers, 2 at just 10 models and 1 at 30. Great Unclean one, a Poxbringer, because you've got to bring one of your heralds. Festus the Leech Lord for Blades of Putrefaction. Lord of Afflictions to get a Nurgle Demon hero close to your Plague drones to give them +1 attacks. And an Umbral Spell Portal to get your favored Poxes and Glorious Afflictions. And Festus's spell, I think it's Plague of Rust. Get that across the board on the first turn so that your drones are more effective on offense. This is a 3-drop list, so you're very frequently going to be able to get the jump on your opponent and go first. Is it super competitive? I don't know, but it certainly would be fun. You'd get some wins out of this, I think. And this is just sort of, I threw this together in a couple of minutes, just sort of as an idea to see what we could get. And see how we could leverage the Droning Guard. And then Blessed Sons, this is basically just a sample list that is pretty standard Blight King heavy Blight Cyst list. I think the FAQ that changed your Blight King's weapons to natural 6s instead of 6+. Definitely makes this more viable. This list, again, is going to be a 3-drop list, so very common. You're going to be able to get the jump on your opponent. In a lot of situations, you're going to be able to take a unit of 10 Blight Kings and get them all the way across the board on turn 1 with the combination of the Doomsday Bell on the Great Unclean one and the free at the double and the Feculent Gnarlmaw letting you run in charge. So you'll be able to probably get a unit of 10 across the board and alpha strike your opponent on turn 1. And then you also have Gutrot Spume bringing another unit of 10 off the board edge to hopefully alpha strike them on turn 1 as well. So you could really potentially with this list pin your opponent in their deployment zone and do a lot of damage to them very quickly, and then have a lot of board control throughout the game as a result. So just some ideas there on what we can do with this. So thanks for watching. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and don't forget to turn on your alerts, your notifications, to always get our newest videos in your feed. And if you really enjoy what we do and like to help improve the channel, don't forget about our Patreon. We have a link down there in description, and 100% of the proceeds from Patreon go back into the channel. So we're reinvesting all of our Patreon money to improve our content. So thanks for watching, guys. I will see you all later.